Webkinz were a mid-2000s sensation. The idea was a no-brainer. You combine Beanie Babies and Neopets. Brightly colored stuffed animals were attractive in stores, and once you entered their special codes online, they were brought to life in a virtual world. The site had pet customization, home building, limited chat rooms, and flash games, which were all maybe a notch below Club Penguin, but it was still plenty of fun for its young audience. And it was an effective business plan, too. This virtual content helped the brand stick out from the other stuffed animal competitors, and it appealed to kids who were already interested in these sort of games. It was a feedback cycle where the more time you put into the physical or virtual version of the pet, the more emotionally invested you were in the other. Webkinz also did a good job selling the concept to parents. Back then, parents had more control over their child's access to the internet. Gans, the terribly named creators of Webkinz, were able to get on the parents' good side by keeping a squeaky clean online presence. No ads, no microtransactions, no fishing for kids' money. Well, except for the Kinz Cash welfare plan. Gans only made money by selling more units, selling those stuffed animals. With production and the online variable costs fairly low, plus prices ranging from $11 to $15 each time some kid adopted a pet, Gans would net crazy profit margins. And thus the biggest adoption scheme in North America ever commenced. The first way they inflated adoption rates was the yearly membership. Imagine a daycare center where you could drop your pet off, and then a year in, they say, unless you bring us another pet, you're never gonna see little Toby ever again. It's been 15 years. I wonder if my first Webkinz, Loco the Chihuahua, even remembers my face. Perhaps isolation is a fate worse than death. Now, apparently, if your time ran up, your membership would just turn into the free version with limited access, but you could still visit your pet, kind of like limited custody. But it gets worse, because Gans were the creators of this virtual world, and thus, the entire time, they were puppeting the politicians of Kinzville. Dr. Quack, Webkinz' second and first democratically elected mayor, was in the palms of Big Gans' hands when he signed into legislation the Kinz Cash welfare plan. For every owner, the first pet they adopted, they would get 2,000 Kinz Cash. That's cold cash, easy money. This was the currency you would use to buy outfits and things for your home or gifts for your friends. And it's the thing you would slowly accumulate by playing flash games and logging in daily. If you really want to party, each adoption from your second pet to your 10th gets you 2,500 Kinz Cash, an exclusive item, and your very own medium room. We're just getting started though, because 11th and up, that's right, you will have bought 11 stuffed animals by now. For each tag, you'll get 3,500 Kinz Cash, enough money to get yourself a jacuzzi. But you also get an exclusive item, a super bed, which I guess is just like bigger than a king-size mattress? Wait a second, why is the government giving out mattresses? I think you get the point. Early on, Webkinz taught me cream. Cash rules everything around me. For others, it probably awakened their inner furries. And I'm sure a small percentage became animal hoarders in hopes of getting money from government programs. Some lessons from this game don't really translate well to the real world.
With my bean in my sombrero, my candy is never far away.
Like, I don't care how many medium rooms you're giving me. I have a 15-room house with 15 animals and no bathrooms. That house is gonna smell nasty. I'm getting off track. The site itself was an ad to buy more Webkinz, and it totally worked. By 2006, just a year after their launch, there were over 1 million registered users just by word of mouth. Estimates say they made $100 million that year, but given that it's a private company, we'll never truly know. While the brand was an instant hit from its inception in 2005, and with competitors like Club Penguin selling for $700 million in 2008 to Disney, the brand seemed unstoppable. But by 2010, the seeds were planted for its obsolescence.
Fuzzy toy.
The Reeds is kind of ugly, isn't he?
No, he's adorable. That's why.
He's kind of ugly, isn't he?
Facebook and its browser games like Farmville were appealing to younger kids. The iPhone and other smartphones were also starting to really gain traction. The touchscreen interface, plus the App Store, were just more approachable for younger kids. The fine line that Webkinz rode was being torn apart. Virtual entertainment one way, and the physical products the other. The company lost some credibility when they sneakily began to run ads, which is understandable when you hear it was for Alvin and the Chipmunks and the Bee Movie. Of course it was for the B-movie. They then tried to diversify. They launched another similar game on Facebook, but they were kind of late to the party, and they just had to copy all the other game business models at the time. Year after year, they would try to push something new out there. So there was the classic Webkinz, and then all the other stuff, as they tried to appeal to younger kids, older kids, and in the end, they just divided their already dwindling audience more. Like trading cards, you really think your animal designs are that good that I'm gonna buy these over Pokemon cards? 2014, and again in 2018, saw the closing of most of these spin-offs as they began to shift their business model. In 2019, the Narwhal was the last plush of the original line, and they officially stopped production, selling what was left in the warehouse and prioritizing virtual purchases. It was the end of an era. Today, they're focused on two main products, Webkinz Classic and Webkinz. Like, just Webkinz. But to clarify, it's a sequel to Webkinz. And to make it easy, let's just call it Webkinz Next. Webkinz Next uses 3D graphics, and my god, the art style is spooky. The game runs smoother because it doesn't use a janky Flash game build from 15 years ago, but it's creepy as all hell. Webkinz Classic is a mess of a video game, but it holds a lot of sentimental value and a majority of the users. Well, actually, because Gans is a private company, we don't really know how many people are playing either game. But it would seem that based on how prevalent the classic Webkinz is on their site, and how these games are sort of built off sentimental value, a majority of their audience probably still plays classic. The fact that they still have a business and an audience is really surprising. You would have thought that Club Penguin would be the last survivor, but they've been gone for a while now. And at least Webkinz had enough foresight to move their game to other platforms so that when Flash closed down, they still had a game for people to play. If you think of Webkinz from a business side, you would prefer people to play your new game because it's more optimized and probably easier to maintain and update. But you definitely don't want to shut down your old game because it's still making money. Wait, hold up. If they're stopped selling plushies, then how are they making money on the classic? Ah, the Gans eStore. Their business model has completely flipped. I don't know how you could be in Gans' position and not change your business as the world around you does. Virtual online stores for games just make too much sense for business. It allows them to put out consistent content for very little cost, and it makes easy cash to keep the game going. Now you can just buy memberships, buy virtual new pets, and all that other junk. No need for the costs of the physical world. Although, I do suspect that they did start selling new plushies primarily to invoke interest in Webkinz Next. By going almost completely virtual and lowering costs, I'm sure they're just gonna wait this one out until it stops being profitable. It seems like their remaining audience may be more willing to put money into the game, and Webkinz is definitely enabling that. Only $130 to get all 5 fountains? Woo-wee! I think my favorite's the Pickleberry Fountain. Now, to throw more stuffed animals on the fire, in April of 2020, 23 million players had their login information hacked. Now, we don't know how many people are playing Webkinz, but based on that number, even if only 1% of that group still played regularly, that's 230,000 players perhaps paying for memberships and buying stuff. So while this type of game may seem very gone and dead, for whatever reason, Webkinz still survives. It's slowly dying with its super poorly optimized game, and they're trying to revitalize it with a new version of the game. But you know what? It wasn't really the gameplay that I remembered about Webkinz. It was going over to my neighbor's house and playing with them, like their physical versions. My boy Loka was freaky, always had like 6 relationships going on at the same time, sometimes even with non-Webkinz toys. That rascal. Unicorn was a nice side piece for him, eye candy, but Hippo was a real one if we're all being honest. And you know what, this was probably an influence from my sister's obsession with Phantom of the Opera, but my neighbor and I would sing dramatic ballads as we played, which I remembered sounding good at the time. I'm sure at first it was cute for her parents to hear, and then it probably got annoying as hell. I remember one summer week I called over my neighbor to see if she wanted to play Webkinz. For whatever reason, she was just busy that week doing stuff. And I don't know, my hormones were acting up, and I felt like I was getting the cold shoulder. For some reason, I concluded that I shouldn't be playing make-believe anymore. You know, I'm a big boy. I want to play Beyblades. I want to pretend to smoke on the sidewalk with toothpicks. Damn, I was dumb. But I remember hanging up the phone and never really playing with that neighbor again. I put the Webkinz in a box and eventually got rid of them when I went to college. But it's okay. You know, it was a good part of my life. Things were harder after that, but now they're getting good again. For different reasons.